So I'll just show you a little bit of what I've been doing behind the scenes. So for anyone who wasn't in the stream yesterday, just to give you a bit of context as to what this image is. I've been doing some experimentation on just how I'm going to approach texturing after we finish animation. And there are a few things that I've been discovering today as well, just in terms of the process. So again, I'll show you what I showed yesterday. So there are a bunch of different Photoshop brushes, which are all based around like traditional mediums, be it gouache and inks and pencils, etc., etc. And this time, because of the backgrounds that I'm inspired by, a lot of it is gouache and watercolor with a little bit of ink, but less within like paintwork and that kind of stuff. So I was doing a little bit of practice and I came up with... Sorry, I'm just trying to find it all. Where are you? Here we go. So these are the different brushes that I was experimenting with. So these are the ones I've selected that I'm going to be using for all the background texturing. This stuff is more for like the close-up ink work, for like the darker outlines, and then this stuff is obviously for like the blending and all of the main textures within the buildings and the pipe work, etc., that kind of stuff. So yeah, I'll be using a lot of these for different blending as well. So I was doing some practice with that, so I took a bunch of screenshots from Ghost in the Shell and Akira, and these are all just different inspirations. And then what I'm going to be doing is just for my own practice. In the meantime, I'm just going to be painting these little squares to try and see how close I can get to that same feeling. So I've only done 2 panels so far, but if I scroll up to the top, you'll see I've done these 2. So obviously it's not going to be one-to-one, but it's more just to give you a sense for the feeling of the texture. And obviously these are going to be pretty small in the background, so you're going to feel it more than like the detailing. And obviously these were quite quick. I think I did this pink one today, and that maybe took me, I don't know, maybe half an hour, something like that. Maybe even less. So I should be able to get through these pretty quickly, but this is more just exploration to see what I can achieve with the brush set that I have, to give us at least a feeling of what was inspired by the originals. Also, these feel quite high resolution based on some of the stuff that we've seen in the others, so that's something I need to experiment with as well. Is when I do go into rendering and like doing all the texture work, I actually may deliberately paint with less resolution. So that it's going to feel more... This is also like right now I think I'm texturing this in like 2K. This whole canvas is 2K. So I think that's too much resolution for what the final textures will be. So hopefully that will also help support what I want to do for the actual final product, because I want to be... It's all going to be projection mapped. So in other words, all this stuff that you might see in the background, say like this stuff, if this is the camera angle, I'm going to be projecting from this camera onto the textures, and then whatever texture size we're seeing here is going to be relative to the resolution I'm painting it at. Obviously, if it's going to be closer up here, I'll probably paint it from this resolution. So it's all going to be relative to how large it is in camera as to how dense the texture is. So again, I've just been doing a lot of exploration with that stuff. But what I can do is I'll just play through what we've been doing since the last stream. So I'll play this back, and then we can carry on animating as we were yesterday. So we did all of this part up to around here last week, and then as we're coming through, I started to flesh out the swing through here a little bit more. And then also yesterday we did this breakdown through here, the tuck and come through, which was a bit more on ones because we needed that clarity through here. And then we have a little bit of a hang time, and then we come down and then roll along this building. So the part we're going to be doing today is the part after that. So if I just scrub my timeline along, so we're going to carry on through So she does this jump through the air, and then she's going to drop down. Ignore the screen space matching for now. She's going to come around. And then we're hurtling into the air. And then we're going to catch down onto this pipe here. So I reckon somewhere around this point, maybe this frame here is probably where we'll finish for today. We'll see how far we get, but that's my goal. So in the meantime, I am going to turn off the screen space matching just after the point where we left off, so it's not going to destroy any of the animation in betweens. And then, yeah, we should be in a pretty good spot to carry on. So, health bot and shuttle are fine. I actually may turn off the shuttle animation. So let me see where it attaches. Well, I'll just keep it from here for now. So here it's going to turn off. It's that frame I want it to turn off. So I can get rid of those. And then it's on major as well. So this frame here. So this is going to be on, and then this is going to be off. So now everything beyond this point, you'll see as I scrub through, he's not in screen space anymore through these keys. So that's going to give us something a little bit more digestible to work with, just a bit more functional as we add the in-betweens. You'll also notice that if I go onto her keys here, let me just turn off the audio for a second. You'll see that we've got some sections where we haven't fleshed this out too much, and there are other sections where we've fleshed out a lot, right? So like this part through here is basically already on 2s. There may be an extra 1 or 2, like an extra couple of in-betweens through there that I'll start to flesh out. But a lot of this, honestly, I think we've actually got a pretty solid foundation to go through. So, yeah, I think we're going to be able to get through this pretty quick. And we'll see where we leave off by the end of the day. We'll see how long it takes us. But I'm trying to do little chips here and there, layer by layer. Yeah, thank you, Marvin. It's really nice to see you here, as always. So, yeah, I'm basically going to crack on. And I'm going to repeat the same thing I say every stream. But, you know, don't be shy in the chat. Even if it's just to say hello. You know, feel free to ask questions. It doesn't have to be related to CYBERPHONK. It can be directly related to CYBERPHONK. It could be just animation related, whatever you want it to be. Basically, I'm an open book, and yeah, I'll basically just be chipping away at this in the meantime. And yeah, hopefully enjoy it. So, as we're coming through here, this is quite quick now. I do wonder if I want to just through that in between. Do I want to have one extra key just to show what's driving us through? Because right now her head comes in here. We're tucking in. And then we're pushing away. Now I am seeing that these knees are getting quite... They are quite tucked into her face. And I'm not sure if I like this as a pose. This is the pose that we made yesterday, but I may want to tweak this now. So I'm just going to make sure we have perspective view as well as I work. It's typically what I would do. And make sure I save it as a new version before we start. So this is currently in FK, and I do feel like we can bring these legs further forward. Just want to clear her silhouettes a little bit more because it's not great right now. Would still be nice to see her feet a little bit, but I may end up having to cheat the feet a little bit, potentially. So do I just translate the foot up just so we read this shape? I think it might be worth doing so. something like this. So again, I'm just going to cheat it to camera a little bit, just so we have a little bit more of that negative space. And then I'll do the same to the other leg. Something like that. And then as we push away here, it does feel like maybe where she pushes from is going to be slightly different than what we had before. So that foot needs to be a little bit further back. And that means that she may be as well. Because I can see where I'm pushing off from is this like ventilation here. So I feel like we need to tweak our pose slightly. Even if it's something like this, it's enough just to sell where we're pushing off from, even if it's technically not correct. And it does feel like she may be leaning a little further forward with her spine. And then I think we're hyperextending that arm a bit too much. I'm just going to go through and make sure this is all keyed, so that when I'm in between, I'm not accidentally breaking something. So we're coming through, she pushes away here. So I want to add an in-between in here, where she's coming through. And I want it to ease out because I want to have a broader spacing as she pushes away. So in here, we really need to drive. I feel like I'm maybe going too far with her spine here. So I feel like we need to progress into it so that the most compression happens on the next frame. So we're coming through. Her shoulder's getting a bit broken there. Then she's coming through a bit more of a compression now, which is better. Just cleaning up some of the collar poses. Then in here, now we want to push through with her root. So her root's going to come forward so that we're driving with the chest. Now it's a case of, do I already reverse her spine in here so that we get more of this shape? Potentially. And then it's a case of keeping the legs on the ground. I'm not sure. Maybe it needs to be a little bit more straight. So let me just go into rotation X. I'm just going to level these out a little. Just to help with that transition. Same with the feet. Keep them planted for now. And then as we're coming through with these arms, I do want to continue to drag them. So as we're coming around, I do like this twist that we're getting through her body. I think that's nice. That's quite fun. So I want to start to lead with that a little bit more. And then that allows us to already begin to drag. some of these components. And then I want to still lead out with the upper arm. And then we drag with the forearm. So we're coming through here. It may just be a case that this is straight. As it comes round. Like this. Potentially. Maybe there's a slight break in there that we can get. There's something about, yeah, it felt like the arm was being translated in the elbow slightly. And then the bend on the forearm isn't helping here to define the break. Thank you for the follow. I appreciate it. So we're coming through, we're pushing up. And then this is where we've got some in-betweens in here. So I do need to listen to the audio just to hear what's happening on the beat. So let me just scrub through that quickly. Sorry, it's going to be quite loud for a second. Yeah, that's really loud. How do I knock that down? Let me just go into my mixer quick. I made the issue of when I edited the audio, I made it super loud. And so now it's just in Maya that way. But I've just turned it down a bit, believe it or not. So I have these two beats in here where it goes ba-da-lip, ba-da-lip, but I've done that with two cars coming by. You see that? That ba-da-ba-ba-ba-ba. So she's essentially just doing her own mechanic through that transition. She's not doing anything specific to the music. She just has this hang time because normally her actions are indicated by the music, but in this case we're just having the environment do that instead. So as we're coming through, I can play around with this timing essentially. So I'm coming through, we're bringing the arms around. And then it arcs back over again. Yeah, I can see where it's going. And then we have a flail, lead, kick, back, flail, lead, kick. Yeah, I think I feel like I've blocked this how I would still block it now. It's just more a case of where the keys land, specifically, that's going to make that work. So what I'm going to try and do is I'm just going to hit spline on the whole rig. And I just want to see what happens through if there's any rotations that I can blend between that's actually going to work for us. See, it actually works pretty well. So what I can do is I can put this on twos, essentially. So I'm going to go through, and I know Anibot has its own twos like tool, but I'm actually going to just use the regular baking because sometimes it's a little unpredictable or it takes a bit longer, even though it's supposed to make it faster. The procedure sometimes takes longer. At least it does for me at work. So I'm going to sample by 2, and we are on frame 1135, and then we're baking to around 1162. There we go. So I'm just going to take everything but the root there. I'm just going to snap that because that's the key that we created. Then delete that key because we're going to add in between to that in a moment. So we've already got that transition working pretty well in the spline. And because she's kind of hanging this screen space, you can see how she's kind of just tracking in this frame region. So I can basically just go through this and tighten up little bits. But her overall inertia, I think, is already working pretty well. Because if I go into the graph editor again, and I just go on her translation Y, can you see I already have this pretty smooth arc through here? I can always make this a little tighter, so I can just blend to ease. Just so that she goes up a little higher and hangs for a little longer in the air. So she comes up, she hangs a little higher, spends, and then she begins to drop. And that drop's already working pretty well spacing-wise. And I can check, like, her translation X. As she comes through, it feels like it slows down here. I wonder if we were to just ease this in a cleaner way, the transition just worked a little better. And it might be a similar scenario for the Z. Yeah, the Z is quite constant through here. And it may be a case that we want to make that ever so slightly tighter. So I am going to just ever so slightly ease it in. So let me just check that spacing. It does feel like now she's actually resuspending through the air quite a long time. I wonder if that needs to actually be smoothed out. Yeah, I think this works a little better actually. Just keeping the inertia constant. There's part of me that just really wants to give it that tiny ease. Just a tiny bit, because I did like how she pulled away. So now I have that working, though. So, as she's coming through, there's something about her rotation X that also feels a little strange. It feels like it starts to lean forward. I can just feel it in the spacing. Yeah, here. It dips forward. So I don't mind her coming back here, but then she needs to lean forward earlier if we're going to do it. And then it's her spine as well. So all the way through here, it's mostly her X that's bothering me. There's a lot of keys. So she's pushing away. So we have this as our push off. And then here, this all needs to ease in. Just to make that a clean transition as we come around. So now that I've got that working, I do want to get her chest working first. Because because we're in FK, as soon as I change what the chest does, it changes the arms and the head, etc. So I'm just going to kind of go layered, which is more a technique I would do in Spline anyway. And you'll see me use that a lot in the walk at the end. So as we're coming through, she's leading around with her... See, there's like a switch over here. So I'm just going to continue to twist and overshoot in the Y. And you should be able to see that in here too. So it's this part. So coming around. Then I want to ease out of that. Oh, interesting. Ah, needs to continue coming around. Then we're easing out this way. Then we're coming through. Oh, it really does hang in there, huh? And then it comes around into this position. So actually, we're easing more into this. It really hangs in here. As we come around, hangs, and then it's transitioning here. And then we're coming in, yeah. Something like this. And then let me just check what the Z is doing, because it's probably also doing some quite big changes. I think we can just simplify some of it. Yeah, I think that's fine. Just needed a little bit of cleanup on the spacing. Just make it progressive. So now that I've got the upper half working, I can do the lower, I can do like the arms and the head, etc. So we're coming up. Just going to create a bit more of a stretch on the head through here, that she feels like she's really throwing herself. So I'm just slowly tweaking the spacing, and then she's just so we get a little bit more of like her head coming forward. So we're easing into this, and then we're easing back out again. And then we just need to clean up what the arms are doing too. So the arm comes through. Yeah, I can see where I want to go with this. I think the switch over needs to happen a little tighter. I don't want these shapes to cross over each other too much, so I'm going to have to tweak that spacing again in a second. This is what I meant about the crossover. And then these arms, I'm going to favor them into the previous pose. Same with the shoulders. And then I'm just going to have them come through. So I'm doing this a little bit straight ahead now. Almost like you would do in stop motion. Playing a little bit more with depth through there. And they do have a very similar timing right now through here, but I'm going to vary that timing a little bit on the next swing. So let me just create a selection set in here. I'll just call it temp. So now I can snap into that position I just made. Yeah, so we're coming back over whilst the other one comes under. So yeah, that's going to vary the timing already, which is nice. So, in other words, one arm is going to carry on down while the other one comes back over. So this one's dropping down. Meanwhile, this one's going to slightly arc up. Now it's carrying on through. So I should be able to get this nice reversal. I actually do quite like this as a pose, silhouette-wise. So I may slightly tweak the timing on the other arm, just to ease into that, so this isn't as tight. So it's more like this now. A little slower. And then as they're coming around, that arm will vanish behind, but this one will carry on through. So this is where, again, we may want to exaggerate the twist in the chest, so that we get that passing come through a bit clearer. And then get more twist. Now, this is a question of, as we start to come down, this pose on the arms may change. And I think it'd be nice to have it change a little, because as we're coming through here, I feel like we want to have a bit more control. So I'm going to have this one come through faster, so that I can catch up. And then keep that arm easing in slightly while the other one comes around behind. May cheat the silhouette slightly. Now that arm's going to come over. I'm just trying to think of a pose. Maybe it doesn't, maybe it just stays a little bit more straight, but we're playing with depth more. So it's coming over. Then as they're starting to drop down, we're just easing in to where the arms begin to fall. Shoulders are getting a little bit wonky through here. I do wonder if I want to have her stay straighter, and then I do end up in this pose. So it's a tighter arc over. And then this hand stays coming up. Maybe? Just have a variation on the timing. I'm not sure. Maybe it just needs to ease in. And not have the extra texture. So in here, this is just a little slower. So let me just have that go back. Just a little bit more gradual as it starts to drop down. I think maybe the way it was working before was a little better. And there's nothing wrong with that. Sometimes it doesn't need to be changed. I just gotta tweak the timing of it. Yeah, I think that worked a little better now. I just need to tweak the spacing just to get it a little cleaner. Yeah, something like that. A little bit more progressive. Hey Chris, good to see you again. How's it going, man? So now I need to tweak her legs as well. I have a feeling, yep, everything I do with the hips is gonna mess up the legs. So what I can do is I'm going to copy the world space of her legs through that section. I'm going to see if this will work. So I want to get a nice drive of the legs, the hips going around one way. And then as we're passing, it's going to come back slightly. Passing again. So I'm just twisting. So now when I paste it back, does it work? think so? I can't actually tell. It hasn't broken anything before. Or after, I don't think. So I may just need to tweak the legs. Which is fine. Get that big push off on the leg. Then it comes in, so we're getting some follow through. Then it's tucking in. Coming around. Kicking out the other side. Needs to play a bit more with depth. Then here it should definitely be straight. And then coming back around again. So I'm just playing around with leg spacing. So I am going quite straight ahead here. Need to tuck that leg in. Think of maybe I've gone one frame too early there. And then here, I'm actually going to have that leg tuck in. So that she's ready to foot plant. And then I need to do the other leg. So we have the push off. Like a majestic swan. Slightly more like a, hopefully it's more, well, the intention at least is that she's throwing herself and she's kind of like, the idea is she's quite carefree, I guess. That's the justification, that she's coming, she's like she's not afraid to just like throw herself around because she's so conscious, she's so aware of what, like, her surroundings and everything. That's the general idea. So she's coming through. Similar thing before, so this leg needs to come follow through. It's gonna overshoot. And then we're passing in. Then it needs to ease in on the other side. Keep the leg tucked in. Keeping my clarity as much as I can. I'm going to keep the leg in. Allow the foot to pass through. Makes quite a cool pose there. And then this is where the leg starts to follow through on the other side. And then it's going to come down. And then this is when she starts to lead down. Going to keep the toe pointing. Whoa, we got some stretching on that foot. I think that actually I quite like, there's part of these poses where it does feel like she slightly throws herself beyond her limits, which is quite nice. I think it's in here, she slightly overshoots her leg, which makes it feel like she's trying to reach further than she actually than she's going, which is quite nice. I may just twist her hips through here and start to straighten her spine too, because it does feel like she's gonna start falling. And then we have this drop frame, so we know we want to reach this point here on this key. So when I look at this, this is a case of how long do we spend in the antic if we want to just have her travel through, or if we're easing into this. You don't see the arc tracker at this phase to track the legs, or at what stage do I use it? Yeah, so someone asked me this question the other day about motion trails, and typically in Spline I would, but I can kind of see the arcs as I'm flicking through the keys. And really it's more about contrast and clarity than it is anything else. So I'm not too concerned with painting beautiful arcs. Because it's in FK, a lot of the arcs will be created, so as long as the spacing is correct, the arc should be correct. Whereas if you're using IK, then you have to translate to get that arc, and like you have to manually create the arc, whereas you don't have to do that with FK. So that's one of the benefits that I use this way. So if I was doing something on ones and it was like very fluid spline, then yeah, I probably would use a lot more motion trails. But for this kind of stuff, I don't really use it all that much. Have I ever completed a shot only using Blender? No, Blender, like using Blender will be my first time in this project. But it's something I'm looking forward to. But yeah, all my animation skill is based in Maya, so I'm sure it is transferable. Like the principles don't change, but I haven't really had or felt a need. Like I haven't felt the incentive yet to need to change to Blender. So that's the only reason, really. But yeah, maybe I'll end up liking Blender a lot more than I thought. Who knows? So I'm going to add an in-between in here. Now, we are starting to lose her, which might be a good thing. Because then we get a clearer read of the car. Or do I slow it down? Do I slow this motion down to allow the car to pass under her? And then she drops. Because the timing of the car is correct. I have a feeling I may just need to slow it down. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take there. So these keys, I'm just going to retime this. So we've got all of this animation, which is looking pretty mental. It's a lot of keys. Jesus, that is a lot of keys. So I'm just going to I'm gonna use this. Up to here. So this is just like a retime tool. There's a few different tools that have a similar idea. That you can use in the graph editor. But I just want to see where the landing pose is, which is this one. So I'm just going to push this out a little. Hopefully Maya doesn't crash on us. And then the same with this guy. I'm also going to delay it with that one in mind too. Just another 2 frames. So now you can see that she's suspending in the air for a little longer. So obviously right now this is going to be on like weird offset keys, which is not what we want. So what I can do is I'm just going to hit spline and I'm going to bake this back through again. So it was 1135 to... Let's try that. So it's 1135 to 1170. Yeah. So now you can see it's just slightly shifted where the keys are placed. And so now it's all back in stepped again. But now what that's done is it's changed the timing. So she's just ever so slightly suspending for longer. Now you can see before she was like almost crossing the car, but now she's just slightly going above it so that we get that clear read. Obviously she's braking in the rig here, but that's fine, we can fix that. So let me just snap her into that position. And then it's just this in between we need to fix. So she's beginning to drop. Now I do want to push her more through here, so she's going to go a little bit more straight. Stretch her spine out. So this is just for the transition, to give it a sense of speeding up. Now, when we land, it's her left leg. This is interesting. Yeah, I'm just going to have it go straight down here. And then here, I think it's okay that we actually don't see... Oh, we do need to see her feet, so we don't have that contact pose. We kind of accidentally lost it. So as we're coming through, we do want to be favoring... So her left leg... Let me just snap our controls into this switch, because I think there may be an FKIK switch at some point during here. So there you go. Now both feet are in position. So we're coming down. Yeah, I feel like I'm going to need some more time to transition. Potentially. So we shouldn't see that arm there. The character's likely broken behind the sign, but that's okay because we won't see it. And then we're coming down. And then we're easing out. So it does feel like this needs to be faster. Which is actually perfect, because this gives us more time to sit, to like swing and hold this. I don't know if we need this pose in general, so I can delete that. And then we have this pose here, so we definitely want this. Now, do I put that on 2 or a 1? I think on 2 is fine. Yeah, so this could be a little earlier. Now, do I have it on the 2? No, I think that's too early. So I have 1 in between. So we're going to hang in here. This is similar to a moment that we had earlier on in the shot, which I'll quickly show you. So this is a similar like technique that I'm using here. Let me quickly find it. So that's the wrong one. This guy. So the part here. So that's very loud. We're coming down. See how we drop, we come quickly through, we hang up in the air, and we hold in this moment, we hold the pose, and then we come out of it pretty quickly. So it's a similar idea. So we're coming around. I'm going to add an extra in-between in here. So I definitely need to go into perspective view just to wrap her body further around the pole. And it does feel like we want to arch the spine. So I'm going to favor more. Oh, this is tricky. How best to do this? It actually needs to be further back so that I can then arch the spine. So we're driving more with her chest into the swing. And I still want to delay this leg. And we can get this really nice lead on the other leg coming through. Do I delay it or do I hang? I think I hang. So I'm going to have it lead. And then I've just got to track what the hand is doing, which is still an FK. Ah, it comes around. Okay, gotcha. So I'm bringing it around here. I'm going to have it come through earlier because it needs to wrap around the other side of the pole. Like this. So now it has enough time to come around one side and then tuck in. Like that. So now she has like an anchor point for the rest of her body to pass through. I'm going to delay this arm to keep it dragging slightly. And then it's coming around. And then we got this hang time in here now. So I feel like maybe I'm just going to ease into this again. But just allow that leg to pass through. So we're giving a little bit more of a beat just to read this foot come through. Because that wasn't quite reading yet for me. So stick that knee out slightly. Like this. And then currently this is still hanging, but this is on odds, I think. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3. Perfect. So all I have to do is bring this back one frame, then we have two in-betweens either side. So again, just add an in-between. Now I am going to check her spacing in perspective. The arc she's taking. Yeah, I had a feeling. So this needs to be further back. To arc around. And then if I need to stretch the arm, that's fine. I might be able to do a bit more evenly through the body. Just getting a bit more clarity on the leg as that kicks out. That's working pretty well. And then we have this into this. So we have this like swiping motion through here. I feel like I need an extra in between so that this is faster. This may need to be on ones. So we're coming through. I'm going to delay this by 2 frames. And then just add an in between in here. Again, just allows that leg to pass through. There is part of me that now thinks the body does need to keep tracking at this point. So yeah, like this. And then this transition here is interesting because it's currently in camera space, but there's still quite a lot of keys in between. Which just makes me just wonder if it's going to feel too slow in the swipe. Or maybe this needs to be earlier too, to give me a little bit more breathing room. And then I can just tweak that foot position. Something like this. Because I still want to get that swipe. That's a very fundamental part of the action. And then obviously we've got the hand as well. Which I might even make bigger, to be honest with you. Really make a meal of it. So now I have an extra in between to add in here. So this is all on 2s currently. Oops, wrong foot. Nice. It's working pretty well. It does need to continue to take over. And it does need to get smaller. Because she's going to start crossing past to lead the action. And then this arm is going to start swiping out. So there's another in-between in here. So now that leg needs to be leading for sure. So we're getting this like swipe of purple brush past and then the green. Again, I have no idea how this is going to look. But I'm just trying it out. I think it could look cool in theory. So again, we have this is on a 3 right now, which isn't ideal. So I'm going to push this back a frame. So I have another in-between here. And maybe that's enough. Maybe that's all we need. So we're coming through. We get the in-between on the leg, which is good. We're getting the contacts on the foot, which is good. We're seeing the swipe. We're easing out. That arm needs to be hidden. Nice. I think that's working pretty well. This is where we're getting into like the Evangelion kind of posing. Or at least that's what it was reminiscent of to me. Now, I may actually delay this by a frame to allow me to ease into this slightly. Just to get a little bit more of a read. And we're already getting quite a nice arc coming through on that back foot. Which works in our favor. I like that. And then we're getting the pull back on this arm. This is tucking in. I want to keep her body pointing down, then it tucks under and leads up. So we're just offsetting her chest leading from her hips. Then she drives back, which I think is fun. That's already on 2s. There isn't really the push-off pose, so, and because we're quite near the edge of frame, maybe I could put this on 1s so that we get that lead in here. Which already makes a pretty cool pose and helps with clarity. So now it looks like we're in FK here. And then we have that push off on the foot, which is good. That's what we needed. Arm is coming out. Whoa. Selected too many controls at once. Do want to keep an eye on her silhouettes on her arm though. That should work. Maybe she's going too far forward too early. Just tracking the screen space. Yeah, I think that worked a little better. Now, I'm genuinely curious here what it would look like if I hit spline. Just if because the idea is it's supposed to be quite like a slow hang time, graceful moment. Actually kind of suspends here. And I don't know if it will work in spline, but if I can and bake it through, it'll give me a good base to build from. So I'm just going to hit spline again. It's actually working pretty well. Just until this key here. But that is what I wanted. So what I'll do is I'll bake from 12:05 to 1229 on 2s. Make sure everything's back into steps. Make sure I save it before everything breaks. Oh no, it's doing summon. Okay, we're back. Just keeping me on the edge of my toes. So it's not as graceful as I would like it to be. And that's partly to do with the rotations. So if I just go on her cog rotations in here, you'll probably find in here that it slows down and then speeds up again. Yeah, I can see it here. So see how we ease in, we're hanging, and then we come out again. I don't mind that we have a little bit of that, but I do want it to be a little bit more progressive. So I'm just going to select that section, and I'm just going to smooth it out. So it's going to keep... It's still going to keep some of the ease, but it's just going to slow down the rotation so that it's a little bit more gradual. But it'll still have the ease in, and then hang, and then come out again. But it just makes it a little cleaner. And I also need to track the hands. I might have the hand drag here and then come through. Wrong side. Yeah, just something like that. And then this just allows it to like drag and then follow through. Just a little polishy thing. And then I need to break up the other side. So slightly overshoots. And then we're settling back out. Because it kind of feels like it's on a hook. And the arm is the arm screen spacing. It doesn't help. So I feel like the arm needs to do something more distinct in here. So it comes through. I feel like it just needs to come out earlier. Just to help break it out. And not have it feel like it's just on a hook. So it comes out. It needs to hang in that hang time. It also gives it quite a nice beat by itself. There we go. There's something about her head that feels off. Feels like she needs to lead around with her head. Maybe twist her body a bit as well. Something in the spacing feels off here. There you go, that's a little better. It's just the arc track. There's also something about her leg spacing that felt a little off, so it comes through. We're sticking through here to start with. And it needs to hang in this. There we go. And then we got some, interesting in-betweens through here. Through this transition from this to this, the legs need to take over. And I feel like both of them are dragging at the same time for too long. So her right leg needs to pass through earlier. We're already getting a little bit more of that lead on the leg here too. So make that very defined. Which is working. And then we just need to add one in between. But it's on a 3 right now, which is kind of awkward. So we're moving the least from here to here. So let's just delete this by a frame. So that we hang in this for an extra frame, and then we're coming out. So the part where we're going slowest, we're going very slow, and then as we come through here, this is faster on the 2. And then that should, in theory, work. So I think we've got something to work with. I just need to use screen space match on this again. So let me just save this, and then I will go to major, and then I need to rewind all of this. And then we're going to copy. And then we need to delete. Then we're going to go into Tusify. Attach to camera. That's our camera. That's our global control. These are our new keys. Attach to camera. Let it run its thing. Pretty impressive considering like how fast it did that for a shot this long. It's a very efficient script, which I am impressed by. So I'm going to attach to camera, set a key, paste this, and then there should be a key where I've turned it off. So in here, I don't want to turn it off. I'm going to keep it on. So we're coming through. So you see here, she's still attached now. Oh no, she's not attached. Oh, it's because it's still off. That's not useful. I said delete the key. Thank you. Right, there you go. So now she's still attached. Still attached. Now she drops in here. I want to turn it off. Now, do I have it attached? Yeah, I think it actually does need to remain attached. I'm not going to turn it off. Let's just see how it looks. Yeah, okay. It needs to be off for a very short period of time. So here, I'm going to turn it off. But then here, I'm going to turn it back on. We do have a lot of focal pulling as well. It's not great. So I wonder if my camera, let me just save this. I wonder if my camera needs also punching in faster, which I could do for sure. I do have a lot of keys in here. So it's from here. Let me just narrow down our timeline. Where are we? there. So around here, it's these frames. So this can be earlier. This can be earlier. This can be earlier. Ah, I've locked the camera. I was wondering why it wasn't changing. Right, let's try that again. I need to ease into this. Yeah, it's better. It's a little tighter now. And I can just change the... Let me just change the focal length here. This needs to be really tight. Just going to try and keep this as tight as possible in the transition so that there's less screen space matching. Same thing with our Z. Is it Z? Or is it X? No, it's X. Our X needs to be tighter too. So here, let's punch this in. So we're diving in. Oh, it's a little too... Yeah, I do like... I think where we go fast here, this is where the focal pull needs to be. The faster the transition, the faster the focal length change happens. So it's around here. So it makes the focal length pull a little bit less noticeable. So now, I do wonder, because I've changed the camera, I do wonder if that's changed where the positions of the screen space matching are, potentially. So let me try. Has that broken that? Here. So let's turn it on. Yeah, it's broken it. Okay. I know what I need to do. We're going to have to do that process again, but that's fine. You only know these things once you try it, right? You have to test the waters first. So we have these keys. Copy that again. Delete. We already have it updated here. We just need to update the timing. Run the script. Go back to frame 1. Attach. Paste the keys where we turn it on and off. Okay, so we should be back now. Let's go back to that section. So this is all off, but then here we turn it on. There we go. That's what we're looking for. This is all good. This is all good. I'm just going to keep it attached through all of this. And then it's up to this pose here. We'll turn it off. Just so that we're in steps for blocking part. But yeah, I think in theory that works. The only thing I'm going to have to tweak now is just the hand contact, because obviously it just disappears. So what I can do is I can just take the hand, and on these frames, I'm just going to copy that world space. I probably should do it with the arm too. The elbow. Oops. Wrong button. I've got a better idea. Copy. I like that position. I need to tweak the hand pose. The hand pose isn't great, but it's very claw-like right now. I actually need to keep the fingers closer together, but just for the meantime, I'm just gonna keep that hand where it needs to be. And then I'm gonna fix the elbow. This is the only tricky part when you have screen space and you've got FKIK. Gotta track these things a little bit by eye. Nice. So let me save that. And let me see if this any of this actually makes sense. So we'll do up to there. And then we'll do from the roll. From around here. Save that. And then let's Playblast. Version 52. Yeah, I know. Not too long left in animation. I don't know how long the walk will take me. That's something that we mentioned last stream. Maybe that'll take me a little bit longer. We'll have to... Yeah, we'll see. So essentially, there was a part where when she's touching the sign, the elbow felt a bit strange because I was having to counter that. So the solution that I could do is that I attach the sign to camera space, like I have here. So I was explaining how the chair is in camera space as soon as she touches it. So all the way through this, you'll see that it's all on ones on the chair. It's just regular perspective. But then as soon as she touches it, it goes into camera space in here. So that way, as she's in camera space, it means that the chair doesn't encounter, then I have to move her feet as well. Every other frame. So this makes it a lot clearer to read. But the benefit of doing it this way is that we don't see the floor. So we can cheat it. Same way with here. The fence is all in perspective. And as soon as she touches it, now it's in camera space. So we need to do the same with the sign, but I don't know if we see the bottom of the sign. That's the concern. So if I go back to our test that we've been doing today, same thing here, right? So everything that she touches is in camera space when she is. So if I just check here, Okay, we are seeing a little bit of the sign floor. But I could just lower the roofing. You may not even notice it, if I'm honest. So what I might actually do, before we see it in its full glory, let me go to where the elbow was. Let me go back to what we had. Here. So let me delete that. Delete this. Because this is the fix. We just put the sign in screen space. So it's mostly this stuff here, which currently is actually not one thing together. So let me just group it. Is it grouped? No, because it's a reference. That's fine. I'm gonna have to add keys so it knows which keys to hold. Through there. And then I'm just going to also set keys here, attach to camera. Same thing here. Set keys, attach to camera. So now I have an extra 2 things here in the set. So I'm going to keep their camera space off. Here. So this is where it's off. And then as soon as she touches it, now it's on. See how now her hand doesn't slip, but you can see the roofing slides. So this is the concern. For now, we'll just do it this way so that it at least reads the hand contacts, but I'll need to figure out how to... Maybe the floor also I can cheat. Like, that might be another solution. Let me see. Because it's all quite big and frame, I might actually just be able to cheat the floor entirely just through that section. Oops. I accidentally pressed the wrong geometry. So let me try that again. Do we have this one now? Yeah, there we go. So now, see how everything has camera space together? But as soon as she lets go here, I'm going to turn it all off. So that we get our perspective back. So there you go. Now it's all back into perspective view because she's not touching it anymore. Only she herself is in camera space. So, yeah, let me save that. I'll play blast it. And then we'll see how it looks. So hopefully it's not as jarring now with the hand contact. You will see the texture sliding in the background. Like if we were to do this there, can you see that stuff? Feels a little, it's just through that section, it's a little jittery. So there are ways around it, but again, it may be a case where everything needs to be in camera space, basically. Ooh, yeah, that does jitter. All for one hand contact. Just play it one more time. Like, it is very quick when she drops. Here, this is very fast. But it is fun. It has a lot of energy to it. And I do want it to feel like we are gaining a lot of tension throughout the shot. Like the stakes get higher, everything gets a little bit more epic, and this is like one of the bigger climactic moments near the end. So it's just a case of this jittering, this. It's just trying to find a way to make that work. That's tricky. It's because the camera is moving in as the focal length is pulling in too. So either I have to really snap the focal length so that we don't see it change at all. It's literally over a frame, which is one solution. Or the camera also has to punch in, but I'm going to really have to find the timing to make that work. So that is something that I intend to fix, essentially. But I think for now, this is working pretty well. So yeah, I think I'm going to leave it here. Thank you all much for tuning in. And if I have any other spare weekends moving forward, they will be basically I'll be streaming this. So yeah, I don't have a ton. I have a few things booked here and there, but nothing crazy. So there definitely will be more streams coming up. But I'll make sure to share those around before I start doing the stream. So yeah, thank you all much for tuning in, and I'll try and get these on YouTube as soon as possible. But in the meantime, take care, and I'll see you soon.